Okay, so we are continuing in the Sefer Sichot Haran, and tonight Rebbe Nachman in Torah Ayin Hey, chapter 75. So he's going to be talking about Tefillah, which is something that he began speaking about last week, and he has lots of different advice, lots of pieces of advice in order to make prayer more real, in order to be able to connect in a way that is really going to resonate. It's very interesting. It's not a standard kind of chapter in the sense that it's a lot of different ideas that they do come together in a certain sense, but it's not just one idea; it's several ideas, and I do think that it's always a good time. It's always a good time to talk about tefillah, and it's something that was very close to Rebbe Nachman's heart. Rebbe Nachman, he says actually in this Torah, he says that the Torah is so great. The Torah is greater than tefillah, than Torah. The tefillah is greater than Torah. That this is something that we spoke about on different occasions. That he told Rebbe Nachman that to turn your Torah into tefillah. He asked him to elevate Torah to a place of tefillah, and this is the backstory behind the Sefer Likutei Tefillot. What Rebbe Nachman did is he took the Sefer Likutei Moharan, and on every piece of Torah, so Rebbe Nachman, he composed a prayer to Hashem that Hashem, please allow me to actualize, to internalize this teaching, to make this part of me, and to turn it from a place of a Torah, which is something intellectual, which is something I'm understanding, to a place of that I speaking to Hashem, to desire to actually personify this. So he says that is an elevation of the Torah to become a prayer. So this is, I believe that this is one of the matters of difference between what you can call the yeshivish world and the Hasidish world. That the question is that what is higher? What is on a more elevated pedestal? Learning Torah or Tefillah? In other words, do we learn in order to daven, or do we daven in order to learn? Obviously they're both true. Like we certainly daven to learn. We say Avinu Avirachaman Tebel Libenu Lahavin Lahaskel Lishma Lumad Lamed Ishma Velastes. Like we ask Hashem to help us learn Torah. And Rebbe Nachman says that it's also true that part of learning is to daven, which is certainly true. Whenever you're learning Hilchot Tefillah, so you're learning how to daven. The purpose of the learning is to daven. So the question is that ultimately, that in general, are we learning in order to daven? Are we davening in order to learn? And I would say that if you ask the students of the Vilna Gaon, so they would say that the ultimate level of a human being is when he's sitting and learning. And if you would ask the Baal Shem Tov, so he would say that that's a good start. And after you finish learning, so then you should be able to talk to Hashem. I was telling my children that I think that there's a hint to this in the Ashkenazi custom that on a fast day, on a tainus, so in Kriyas Torah, so when we get to the Yugimel Midot HaRachamim, the 13 attributes of mercy, so in the middle of Kriyas Torah, so everybody stops, the Baal Kari stops, and then everybody shouts out together the Hashem Karachim V'Chanun. And if you think about it, it's a very fascinating thing. Like there's time to daven and there's time to do Kriyas Torah. Like right now it's Kriyas Torah. Right now we're not Yugimel Rachamim. Like that. It's nice for davening. It's nice for Yom Kippur. But that's not what we're doing now. And so I was thinking that really this is a hint to the fact that what we're doing is when we are learning Torah, as in Kriyas Torah, so the way to elevate the Torah is to turn it into tefillah. To turn this like, hold on a second, let's actually do this for real. And it would be like in a sense we're learning about like it says in the pasuk of V'yehatu lecha chamecha, and then everybody stop. Okay, now give a hug to the person next to you. And to actualize the Torah. And so I think that this really expresses this idea of elevating the Torah to a tefillah. And what it really means is that the highest place that a person can be is not when they understand something, because that's only intellectual, and that's somewhat of a lower level. And when you elevate the Torah to tefillah, so what you're doing is you're making that intellectual understanding into part of your relationship with Hashem. And that's when it's being realized, and that's when it's really becoming something which is the highest. And so this is why I think that it's always a good idea. It's always it's an amazing thing that in Rebbe Nachman's world of tefillah, and And so the topic of the chapter is to give different pieces of advice, different pieces of things to think about in order to make our prayer more meaningful. Okay, so he starts like this. The Rebbe spoke about this a lot. And he said that you should force yourself to daven with lots of kavanah. So what's it mean to have kavanah? Lekasher hamachshava el hadibor bekesher amit v'chazak. Shiata ozno hetev hetev yishma mashu medaber b'tefillah. That to have your mind, your thoughts connected to the words. That there should be a consciousness in your thoughts of what you're actually saying. V'zeh ikir tefillah b'kavana. And he explains, V'lo haya mitzaveh litpalem kavanas mamish al pi kesvei arizal, zichron levracha. Afilu le'otam anashim shayu lomdim kesvei arizal al pi pekudaseh. So he would tell people that even Kabbalists, so he would tell them, don't do kavanas of Kabbalah. Okay, so what does this mean? So there's such a thing, there's actually like, in Nachlaot it's more popular than in most places, but there's a lot of Kabbalists in Nachlaot. There's like 3 Kabbalah yeshivas in Nachlaot. That it's an interesting thing, like in general. So the more holy something is, the more it attracts crazy people, right? You go to Meiron, you go to Uman. There's like whatever the holier the something is, the more it attracts Mishagoyim, and so because like learning Kabbalah is so holy, so like it attracts the Mishagoyim, and that's why it's naturally going to be drawn to Nachlaot. So then, what's it mean to daven with kavanah zavi? Well, the kavanah zavi is that there's these sidurim that they're like these pages and pages of just like names of Hashem written in these different ways of forming them, different vowels, different orders, and different you can have like just on one word Baruch. So you could have like 5 pages of just like these things of just different names of Hashem to look at and think about, and I don't even know what it means, but that's this idea of kavanah. So he says that even if you understand what they're doing, even if you understand what these kavanahs are trying to express, don't do it. Don't do this. And this is actually something which is brought in halacha, that the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Tzadik Ches, which is the halachas of tefillah b'kavanah. So in Tzadik Ches, the Mishnah Berurah brings that there was a Kabbalist called the Reb Shimshon Mikinon, and he's from the times of the Rishonim. And Reb Shimshon Mikinon says that even though he was very aware, an expert in all the different kavanas, despite everything he learned, when he would come to daven before Hashem, he would daven with the same simplicity that he did in grade school. Okay, the same simplicity that he did when he was a little child. And so the Rebbe Nachman, he does something very interesting that I think that we're going to get back to this. Rebbe Nachman says, when in Sichot Haran, so he speaks about this as well, about not davening with kavanas of the Arizal, and he says that in the next line he says, Ikar shleimus hatfilah hu baruch atah Hashem kipshutai. That just baruch atah Hashem, just like it sounds. V'zeh ikar kavanas hatfilah sheyichaven peresh hamilas. So what is kavanah? Kavanah means that to know what you're saying. So in Sichot Haran, he adds another line, which I think makes this very powerful, like to understand what kavanah really means. He says that there's one exception, there's one kind of person that I'll allow to daven with kavanas, like the Arizal himself probably did daven with kavanah zari. And so he said that kavanah means to understand the Perish HaMilim, to know what the words mean, to know that what's Baruch, what's Atah, what's Hashem. And so if to you the kavanas of the Ari is the Perish HaMilim, if to you, like you see in all of these kavanas, you see, that's really what Baruch means. And you see all these kavanas and you see, now I get what really Atah means. So if that's how you look at it, so then you should have these kavanas. And if it's not like that, if it's something external, if it's something additive, that I think that I'm davening the words, and besides that, I'm supposed to think these thoughts, because if I think these thoughts, it's going to do something very amazing in heavens. So if that's the way you look at it, so then that's not davening, because davening requires Perish HaMilim. The definition of davening is that I'm simply thinking what the words mean. Okay? So I think that really what he's saying over here is that the definition of kavana is simply being real with what you're saying. Okay, and like there's different ideas of what it means not to be real. So I think the first thing, which is very relevant to exactly what he's talking about over here, that many people today, even though they're far from being Kabbalists, but they have a similar problem, and there's something that I've mentioned before, and that is that the people that daven with an English translation. So I sometimes find them, I sometimes watch them that they're davening and they're looking at the translation like word by word, especially because like Art Scroll has these interlinear translations that like it's word by word that you have right next to it exactly what it is, and so it's like when I see these people that they're davening and word by word they're looking at the English, so it really bothers me, because that's a great thing to do like when you're not davening. If you want to learn Hebrew, so it's great to learn Hebrew when you're not davening. When you're talking to Hashem, so that's very obnoxious to be like learning Hebrew as you're talking to somebody. Like when you're talking to somebody, so the person wants you to be very present, right? So you can imagine like if you're talking to a friend and they're like as they're as they're speaking to you, like they're looking up word by word what the like they're saying a word and then they're just like that's what I just said. I'm like like muchas. Gracias. It's not the way you speak to a person. That part of having a conversation is that you're present. I'm not like looking things up and we're learning things as I'm talking to somebody. So it's very messed up in my opinion to be learning what something means as you're talking to Hashem. Like once you're there, it's too late. Whatever you know. Once you're speaking, so like once you're standing before God, so then like you just say it with just your eyes should be to His eyes. Like no, I'm not thinking about what the words mean, because that's the opposite of having a conversation, right? There's a similar to the fact that thinking about what the words mean is the opposite of being present in the conversation. So a person could not be present because they're being self-conscious. This is something that like if I'm thinking about how I appear, if I'm thinking about my posture, if I'm thinking about what people are thinking about me, which is hard, because sometimes because we are self-conscious, like if we want to, like we're aware of the fact that whatever I'm doing or not doing with my body, if I'm moving, if I'm not moving, if I'm getting emotional, if I'm not getting emotional, like we're constantly, it's natural to be self-conscious, but the more that we're self-conscious, so we're not present in the conversation. Like if I'm thinking about how other people are observing me, so then in that thought of thinking how people are observing me, I'm not here, right? So part of being present, part of being real in the davening is that my thoughts are simply in the words. My thoughts are simply in the conversation, in this dialogue, in this meeting that I have with Hashem. Okay, so this is what Rebbe Nachman is saying about being real, about that the definition of kavana is definition of davening of kavana requires that I'm simply becoming the words, right? And so this is something. It's a bit of a skill that for people to get into, because for a lot of people the mere fact that there's a script makes it difficult to become the words. Like, or in other words, that if this was to be a real meeting, so then I would be saying what's on my mind. And yet, for various reasons, so Chazal tell us that don't say yet what's on your mind, say what's on our minds. And like this is what you should be saying. So it's like we have to be like in acting school. So this is one of the things that I've never been to acting school, but I imagine that what do? You read a script, you have to memorize the script, and then after you know the script, you have to become the script. You have to that really embrace that these words are not words that I'm quoting somebody else, that these words are my words, and they're coming from me. And if you don't know how to say these words that they're coming from you, then nobody's going to hire you. Like that's part of being a good actor is that to actually personify these words, to actually that it's coming from you. And so this is, I'm not saying that davening is supposed to be acting, but it's a skill that we need to acquire. That these words, so it's supposed to be, they were writing this, like there's like sometimes like a screenwriter will say like, when I was writing this, I was thinking of you. Like so we have to know that when Chazal were writing the script, they were thinking of us. Like this is not something superficial. This is they were thinking of us. They were thinking that like I have the perfect thing that you should say in your meeting today. Like this is so what you need to say. And so he was actually thinking about us. So it's meant to fit like a glove, but despite the fact that it's built for us, despite the fact that it was created for us, nevertheless. So it takes a certain effort to become these words, because until we're familiar with what we're saying, then it's hard to make it that it's coming from our heart, it's coming from our emotions, that we actually are speaking from a place that this is what I'm saying and not this is what somebody else told me to say. Okay? I think for a lot of us that really subconsciously when we're reading davening, so we're not saying that this is what I'm saying, we're saying that this is what somebody else told me to say. And that's also the opposite of being real. That's the opposite of being completely present. Okay, so he continues like this. That okay, this is the next point that he says is something that we've spoken about before, and that is what to do if you get distracted. So what do you do if other thoughts are trying to attack you, trying to hijack your davening? So Rebbe Nachman has a piece of advice. He has instructions for this, and that is just ignore it. Just keep on going as if nothing happened, and that it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes life has stress. Sometimes that the best that you can do is 10%, because 90% is just that annoying squeak in the bench behind me, and I can't think of the words that I'm saying because the only thing that I can think about is that annoying person or that the only thing I think about is what somebody just told me, or the fact that I just lost my job, or the fact that whatever, the fact that something we just got to show, and that I was right before Mincha, it was the phone call. So the what you call it, that Hashem gets it. Hashem knows that sometimes that our 10% is really our 100%. Like that's the situation, and like he can't expect more from us because that's all there is right now. And like it's like the truth is that it's a very comforting thought. It can actually bring much more kavanah. Like I remember years ago I was at this wedding, and they were davening Maariv after the chuppah, and it was very loud. Like I don't remember why it was loud. It was the music or just the waiters, or it was very, very loud, and it was frustrating to me that like it's hard for me to concentrate. I part of my ADHD is that like I'm very sensitive to noise, and so like it was really difficult. I was like sort of like going crazy, and that like this is so annoying that I wish I could feel connected, and then. Like I'm proud of myself. I was very young. Like I was like 21 or something when this story happened. But I told myself, this is it. Like a different davening that having in your favorite show, that's not happening today. So this is the situation. Make the most of it. You can do a amazing davening right now. That considering the situation, let's make that you're not going to have your yeshiva davening, but you can have an A++ wedding davening, and that's just taking into consideration that like maybe my 10% is actually 100%, and that's what it means. Just lo lashkiach on these machshavas, that whatever the machshavas are, whatever the thoughts are, so to just let them go and not expect from yourself, not have this false expectation that every davening is supposed to be whoa, like what a davening. That's not the reality. And Hashem knows it's not the reality. And if Hashem wanted that to be reality, so He wouldn't give us all these stresses. And He knows what He's doing. And sometimes He wants us to struggle. Sometimes He wants us to show up, even though it's not so geschmack. Okay, so He says like this. Now, that it's actually not possible to daven the entire davening properly, with proper kavanah. You should know that everybody has the place of davening that they connect with, and it's impossible for one person to connect with every part of davening. He says that he experiences this. The one person says this part of davening with kavanah. Some people are really into psikudizimah. Some people are really into shema. Some people are really into avarabba. Some people are really into shmanesei. Some people are really into aleinu. And so everybody has their thing that they connect with. It's like, it reminds me of, it says in Chazal that Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu l'zakot et Yisrael l'fika chibar lem Torah mitzvos. Shnema Hashem chafetz leman tzidko yagdol Torah v'yada. Hashem wanted to give the Jewish people lots of merits. So that's why He gave them so many mitzvahs. So I once saw a commentary on this that what it means is that like different strokes for different folks. Like because we're all different, we all have a different temperament. So some people connect to this mitzvah, some people connect to that mitzvah. Like Rebbe Nachman. Rebbe Nachman had a favorite holiday. Who knows what Rebbe Nachman's favorite holiday was?
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah was his thing, and
we don't go to his camera.
So the Rebbe Nachman, his student, his favorite holiday was Yom Kippur. That was his thing. He thought like Rosh Hashanah was the Rebbe's thing, but his thing was Yom Kippur. Everybody has their. It's like it's okay. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if this is so obvious. If you would ask like a regular Rosh Hashiva, like what's your favorite holiday? Like I don't know. Like it's like who's my favorite child? It's like I remember once I was walking to the Kotel and the soldier was walking next to me and we're talking about yeshiva and he asked me what's your favorite commentary on the Gemara? And he was mature enough to catch himself, and he said, "Oh, is that a question you're allowed to ask?" It was very mature of him to understand that, because a lot of people would say that Shonim, they're angels. How can you say my favorite? How dare you say that this Rishon is better than this and this Rishon? So I laughed and I said, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It happens to be that I do have a favorite. I like the Rashba, he's my favorite. It just happens to be. But there's something it's based on the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah says that Ha'omer Shmua Zona Zo'enana Mitchayev B'nafsho. The person says that this is a good word. This is a good sigya. This is not good sigya. And so that's this person. There's something the person deserves to die if he says if he's putting down, you're insulting a sugya, and so I assume that mentality is coming from there, right? To say that I don't like the Ramban so much, I don't like the Meiri so much, that's it sounds sacrilegious, and so but Rebbe Nachman was okay. Rebbe Nachman says that we all have our favorite mitzvah, and it's legit to have your favorite mitzvah, and the same thing, we can have your your favorite part of davening, and he says something. It's so beautiful that so everybody has their own thing, and then he says very easy b'ksav of Terelza that Rebbe Nachman had a teaching about this, but it never made it to the book. Rebbe Nachman saw the manuscript of this teaching, but he never actually wrote it into the book Likutei Moharan. So the Rebbe Nachman said about this idea, how everybody has their part of davening, which is their favorite part of davening, which is the part of davening that they connect with the most, that's what it's referring to in the Zohar, that there's some people that they are they're in charge, that they are the people of the people of the arms, and the other people that they are the people of the legs. So Rebbe Nachman explained that passage in the Zohar that when you're davening with a minyan, you're davening with a group of people. So through the fact that every person in the room connects with a different part of the davening, so all together, so then you make this full being. All together, your tefillah is a tefillah shlema. So this is really there's a new take on what it means to daven with a community, like what to daven to go to shul, not to daven at home. And this is a new take on this because like when you're together, so like everybody feeds off one another, and we all lighten up the different parts of this tefillah, and all together, so our tefillah shines together. It's like I think it's a very beautiful way of thinking when we're before we start davening, we should have in mind to connect to everybody around us that we should be lightening up their davening and they should be lightening up our davening, and like all together. So it really shines together. So shekol achad mitorev zocher litpal b'kavana chelek me'atfilah k'vi b'chinato. Okay, so he continues. So a person should never be discouraged if you had a certain element of connection for part of the davening, and then this connection went away, because that's the way it is. That you had the connection because that was your part, and now you don't have connection anymore because it's not your part. So kiza mukhrach. That's simply the way. It's simply the way that it needs to be. Yishtadel lispal shar tefillah b'pshitas gomer. V'afilu lifamim miyageh atzma ve'eni yochel lispal klal. Afa piken al yipa b'dayta mizeh klal kim klal gadol she'asor lipa b'dayta b'shum meifen afilu miyavad alav masha afilu imeni yochel lispal rak klal rak achi atzma zal kot panim daber diber tefillah b'pshitas gomer k'mo tinek b'beis hasefer mamish v'yomer kach v'kama diburim b'pshitas gomer. He says sometimes you won't be able to have any connection at all, and the best that you can do is simply davening like a child, just like something with complete pshitas. Now, there's two elements that I want to speak about. What does it mean, davening like a child with complete pshitas? And they're actually opposite ideas. One of them is something that it's recorded in the book Sichot Haran, in the biography of Rebbe Nachman, that when Rebbe Nachman was dying, which is on Sukkot, so his students came in to be with him, and his grandchild came into the room. And so Nachman appreciated that his grandchild came into the room, and he said, no, are you davening that I should be healthy? So his grandchild was like 6 years old, and he says, God, mach du seine gesund. And he said, God, make my grandfather healthy. And all of the students started laughing. They thought it was just comical that a 6-year-old says, God, make my Zaydi healthy. And Rebbe Nachman scolded them. Rebbe Nachman said, he knows how to daven. That's exactly how you should daven. Like the way that the 6-year-old turns to Hashem with such simplicity, and he really believes that Hashem is listening. So that's like there's something very real about that. There's something that there's no walls, there's no barriers. It's just very pure. And the truth is, like all this idea where we're talking about before of like trying to figure something out, reading from a script, feeling self-conscious. So kids don't have that. Kids, they're 100% real. They're 100% authentic, and this is something that we can aspire to be like children, in like trying to reconnect to that child inside of us that is just completely authentic, that's completely real, completely present, and without anything fake, without anything like politics, without any not being present. A child, the moment that he starts spacing out, they walk away. There's no such thing that a kid is gonna be in a conversation with you, but they're not really there. It's like they're like when we have like 17-year-olds, the 20-year-old children as well. There's one school that I used to teach that like everybody is like they're all cuckoo, and like it's the most challenging school I ever taught at. Okay, we're not allowed to talk about if I'm a Kabbalist or not, but that the moment that you stop entertaining them, they walk out of class. Okay, there's no such thing as like, yeah, it's like, I think you're boring as heck, but like I'm going to stay in class because that's what the rules are. Like they don't go for that. Like it's like they're such just children that like if it's not real, I'm not here. You know, and so like to their credit, you know. So this is what Rebbe Nachman is saying, that to daven like a 5-year-old is simply that I'm completely real, that God macht the Zeder gesund, and just completely present, completely that just of course Hashem is listening, of course Hashem can do it. Like that's also another thing. Like we adults, like we sometimes question, like, does Hashem really care? Is this really going to work? Like children don't, like, of course. The Morah said that Hashem listens, so of course Hashem listens. Like, you're crazy? And so there's no doubt. They're very sure of themselves. The confidence of a 5-year-old. So that is what I think Rebbe Nachman is trying to tell us over here. On one hand, of this davening like a child, but the truth is that it's also very clear. It's also very clear from the context that there's another element of davening like 5-year-old, and that is a negative thing. And that is that even if you don't feel any elevation and don't feel any connection, meaning that adults have the capability of having what we can call the spiritual experience. Okay, a religious experience. So what does that mean? What would that mean? A spiritual experience is like we know that it's the most amazing feeling in the world to feel connected to God, like to feel our soul alive, to feel that we actually connected to something beyond us. That's something awesome. That's something that it's sweeter than anything that physicality can ever offer us, and that's something that a child doesn't have. A child, like they've heard of it, but they don't know what it is. It's actually something which is more mature. And I remember I was in 4th grade, and like I was like trying to daven with kavana, and I was sure that like daven with kavana means that you close your eyes really tight, and like you're so that's what concentrating is, right? Like concentrating is like if you so like in my 4th grade mind, that's what it means to concentrate really hard, and so oh my gosh, I think I felt something. So my point is that feeling connected is actually something that only an adult can feel. It's not possible for children to actually feel this experience of the spiritual connection. So when he's talking about davening with pshitos, davening as a child, so part of what he means is that there's actually no connection. And in this context, so I want to share with you a story that I read. I read this years ago. I wasn't able to get the exact names. It doesn't matter. The truth is that it doesn't matter who the names are. It could be that the names were switched anyway. But there was the story. I saw this in the Sefer of Rav Zevin of Sipur Chasidim, that there was 2 Rebbes, and one was he was spending Yom Kippur with his brother-in-law, who was also a Rebbe, and so he shows up, and it's mincha erev Yom Kippur. And everybody, all the Chassidim, they're mamish into it, and they're all like crying and shouting and fainting, and I don't know, they're all like mamish, like very. It's like the davening. It's like it's the last the last tefillah in their life. Like the mamish, like they're so into it, and so this Rebbe, the brother-in-law, so it's out of nowhere. Like he usually is great davener. He's a big Rebbe, but like he just feels like there's a brick wall. He feels like I'm so not connected. He's going crazy. And like he looks around, he's noticing how everybody's so into it. And like the more that he sees how much everybody else is into it, so that makes it more frustrating that he's not. And so he's like trying to force himself, like, come on, concentrate. Just Hashem is so big. Come on, speak to him. And like nothing's going. He feels like this heaviness. He feels like this brick wall. And like after like 5 minutes of nothing, so he's just sweating and just going crazy. And he says, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna just go through it. I'm just like Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu, just go through it. And he does it like super quick. Just like trying to like when you can't concentrate, you have to just keep on moving. Just or else you're gonna just keep on spacing out again. So just keeps on moving, and it goes very, very fast. And he's like with like zero kavanah, just like barely knowing what word he's on. And then he finishes, takes 3 steps back, and then like as soon as he finishes, so like his brother-in-law, the Rebbe that he's visiting, so he takes his pass and he runs over to him and he says, "What did you do?" And so he says like, I'm sorry, I was trying. I said, no, you did something. Don't apologize. Don't be embarrassed. That like I'll tell you that every year in Yom Kippur, it's the longest davening of my entire year because I show up and I go up to heaven and all of these souls come to me. That all of the people that I ever knew and ever met, their souls come to me to fix them, and so there's I was ready. Like I was ready. I was expecting a long line when I got up to heaven, and nobody's there. And like I ask some angel, like, hey, what's going on? Where's my line? And he says, oh, they were here, but like your brother-in-law took care of everything. and so like, what'd you do? It usually takes me like 2 hours, and like you did it. Like, so what's your secret? So he says, I don't know what those souls heard, but I can tell you what I did. And that was for me, this was the worst davening in my entire life. And I was just killing myself to just make it through the basic words. And of course, the takeaway of the story is that we really, really never know. We will never know what's going on with the tefillahs that we do, that there is actually zero connection between how much we feel connected and how much is actually going on, and that the power of the tefillah, the power of any ma'aseh, the power of any action is infinitely greater than anything that we are capable of understanding. So there's really no correlation between how much we feel connected and how much is actually happening. It's any time that we are privileged to be able to feel some connection, so it's just a present from Hashem. And the fact that we don't feel it does not mean that we're not doing something awesome. In fact, I once heard from the Baal Shem Tov that there's something special, like when you don't have something with kavanah. So we have a tendency to feel bad and to beat ourselves up. And he says, the Baal Shem Tov says that that's the time that you can use your emunah and you can take a step back and say, you know what? I believe that my tefillah can do amazing things even without my kavanah. Because the truth is that the tefillah itself is so powerful. The tefillah itself is so infinite. It's just this power, this energy. So even yes, my kavanah, not my kavanah. It's like the difference between the tefillah with kavanah, the tefillah without kavanah is really Hashem knows what He's doing. The tefillah itself goes up. Who do you think you are? That because of your kavanah, that's what's making. The tefillah is way more powerful than your kavanah will ever be. And just to take a step, of course we should have kavanah, but to know that Hashem doesn't need us. Our tefillahs can function without our kavanah. So that is a certain element of the simplicity. There's another story that I want to share with you, which is also relevant. This is also relevant to simplicity. Which is there's actually a story that is related to the Seder night, and there's also versions of the story. I've seen this with different rebbes and with different takeaways. So it's not clear exactly where this happened, what city this happened. I've heard this. One version was with Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev, one version was with the Rizhiner, and one version was with Reb Simcha ben Reb Sishcha. But the story goes like this: that the morning after the Seder, so whoever Rebbe this was, so he was with his Hasidim, and they were verbreaking after davening, and all the Hasidim had been with him for the Seder, and he said, Rebbe, the Seder by you was the most amazing Seder in the entire world. I'm like, I can't believe that there's any Seder anywhere that comes close to how awesome your Seder was. And at that moment, so the tzaddik, whether it was Simcha Bonim or Levi Yitzchak, so he had this like inspiration that Moshe the water carrier had a better Seder than you. And so he's like, he noted this, and like he was saying, like he asked the Chassidim, could you bring me Moshe the water carrier? And so they went to his house, and he said, he was like came to the Rebbe's house, and he says, Moshe, could you tell me about your Seder? And he says, I'm sorry, Rebbe, I will never do it again. And he says, no, I didn't come to embarrass you. I think that there was something very, very special about your Seder last night, and I really honestly want to know what happened to your Seder. So he said, okay, Rebbe, but I really promise you I'm never going to do this again. Rebbe, I really, really need my alcohol. And like I started getting concerned, like I started getting anxious that like what am I going to do for 8 days without alcohol? And like I guess like they didn't have arak where he was. Like all the alcohol was beer or whiskey, and so no, okay, but he likes the hard stuff, and so I said, I know, I'll get so wasted Erev Pesach that it'll last me for 8 days. Well, and so I drank all of the whiskey I could find, and somehow in my ingenious idea, it didn't occur to me that I need to be present for the Seder. And so like I'm davening, so I come, and I'm not davening. I come home after like in the afternoon, and like I fall asleep. And my wife starts trying to wake me up. I should go to davening, and I said, I'll come and give me 5 more minutes. And the 5 minutes turns into 10 minutes, turns into an hour. And like everybody else, I don't make it to shul, and everybody. Like everybody comes home, and the kids are crying, and they're saying, Ima, why can't we have a Seder like everybody else? Why is Abba not coming? And he's like, just 5 more minutes, just 5 minutes. and it's almost chatzais. It's almost the middle of the night, and so like she comes in and says, enough already. You have to make a Seder. It's almost chatzais. So he says, so I wake up. And I go there and I tell my children that Kinderlach, I'm so sorry. I'll never do this again. I promise you, I'm never going to drink. I never meant to miss the Seder. But I need to tell you. It's the Laila Seder. This is the holiest night of the year, and I want to tell you what happened. That our ancestors, so they were slaves, and it was so bad for them, and they were suffering, and they were in pain, and what did they do? They cried out to Hashem. They said, Hashem, please save us. Please save us. And you know what? Hashem listened to their prayers, and Hashem saved them, and He sent them 10 plagues. So, Kinderlach, I need to know, you need to promise me that whenever anything happens, you'll never stop davening. Always remember that Hashem is always going to answer your davening. And then I fell asleep. That's it. And that's it. And he says, Mashallah, you think that you messed up this Seder, that in heaven, so that your Seder was the most beautiful Seder in the entire world, and so there's something about like, and so the Simcha Bonim said to his Chassidim, tell me the truth. Have you ever seen someone tell the story so nicely? You ever seen somebody tell the story just the way it is? Like that's the story. And so this is like just really to daven for real, to tell the story just without any, like we have in the Seder we have so much fluff. there's so much ceremonies and so much like conversations that are really silly and questions from stupid Haggadahs, from stupid teachers, and like things like, and like so many irrelevant comments, and so and just like it's such a beautiful story, and such an important story, and it's such a critical story that so what he did is like through his stupor, he just was able to to filter out all of that fluff and just to get to like the real story in the most beautiful way. And that's really what it means, like to daven like a 5-year-old, to return to the core, to what it was meant to be before we got so complicated. Okay, so this is what it means. This is what it means to daven simply. This is what it means to daven with like a child. This is what it means to daven be'emes. I'll leave off. Like he says this at the end as well, that the ikar is be'emes b'pshitus, and Rebbe Nachman said once that it's a merit for a person to live that it wants his entire life to say one word before Hashem, be'emes. That to really stand before Hashem and say even one word from a really, really true place. So that itself is a great merit. That itself is something which is not self-evident. And so it's like what it means be'emes. I think that what he's saying is that like to try to bring out that inner child inside of us, that without any fluff, without any politics, without any self-consciousness, and this is be'emes what kavanah is. This is like to really be present and to really be aware of what's going on in this conversation. And like I've told you before, that like the Rebbe Nachman said that this is the greatest segula. This is the greatest. If you want to make sure that you don't space out during davening. So if you really believe that someone's listening, if you really believe that someone's there, so then you're not going to space out. It never happens that. Most of us, most people will never be talking to somebody and they'll say, "Oh my God, what was I saying?" Like when you really think that somebody is talking to you, when somebody's listening to you, when you're really talking to somebody, you really think they're listening to you. I said most people then you don't space out because you know that I'm in the middle of a conversation. So if we really believe that Hashem is present, so then of course. So of course, it's going to be much easier not to space out. So B'ezrat Hashem, this is something that we can really take into our lives, and this is what Pesach is all about. Pesach is absolutely about V'nitzak al Hashem Elokei Avoseinu. In my family, we have a custom that when we get to this part of the Haggadah, so we take a moment of silence, like 60 seconds of just personal prayers, of just like because this is the night that we're remembering that we davened to Hashem, and Hashem answered our prayers. So it's like it's a powerful vanitzak. It's like in the way that the Haggadah goes through the story. So it's 5 psukim. It's 5 psukim is the whole story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and one of those whole psukim is vanitzak al Hashem Elokei Avoseinu v'yishma Hashem eskalenu. Like 20% of the story is davening. Okay, so like one of the things that we need to know about Pesach is that the big takeaway from Pesach is davening is real, and Hashem should help us that we should be able to know that it's real and to believe in ourselves and to believe in the conversation and to believe that this is a real meeting and to believe that even if we're not feeling it, that it's happening anyway, it's real despite our lack of connection, and just keep on trying. And B'ezrat Hashem, the more we try, so Hashem will allow us to enjoy Tefillah as well. L'chaim.